get you on my,
All right, you guys are all set.
All right. Okay, having time being met, it is Wednesday, December 27th, 6:30 p.m. We have a Finance Committee meeting tonight. Before we begin, I will read the following disclosure on our agenda. First went to Section 20 of Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2020, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency and the March 31st, 2025 extension granted by Chapter 22 of the Acts of 2022. This meeting for the town of Bridgewater will be fully remote and accessible to the public through remote participation to the greatest extent possible. No in-person attendance is permitted. Citizens who wish to tune into the meeting may do so via Zoom with the information that was listed at the top of our agenda. So now we've done part A, call to order. Let's move on to part B, approval of the meeting minutes. We only have one set of minutes from December 4th. Does anybody have any comments, questions, anything that needs to be changed or amended? Okay. I think Julie's still trying to connect in.
Yeah, it looks like she's trying to connect the audio.
If she can't connect, do we have enough to do votes?
No.
how many, can you hear me, guys?
Yes.
Hey, I'm
Yep,
sorry,
we
I'm on
need
the
it.
road, yeah. All right, how many people do we have? Because it's hard for me to look.
We have 5 right now.
Okay, all right, so we're doing it.
Yep. The only thing is Julie is having issues connecting to the audio.
Okay.
Um,
I was just having trouble too. I couldn't hear anything, but
so we just have to wait for her.
okay. I'm gonna pull over again here shortly. For some reason, I can't get it to work with my hands free.
No worries. Josh, are you able to get a hold of Julie to see if she can call in via phone?
Yes, I will reach out to her right now.
All right, while we're doing this, I'm gonna see if I can get on my hands free.
Share.
So I think she's trying to rejoin. Yeah, unfortunately, without another person, we don't have quorum for the meeting.
So right now we're basically in informal session. So if anybody is with the public right now, please bear with us while we try to suss out these technical difficulties.
Josh, can you hear me? Steve Pace here.
Hey,
Yep.
Steve.
Lee Bean was unaware of the meeting. Is there any way you can send him the invite and he'll join us?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Very frustrating. I can't get this to sync up with my hands-free. Why? You can still hear me though, right?
Yep, absolutely. We can still hear you, Nate.
All right. So at least I can listen, I can vote.
And Steve, if we can get a hold of Lee Bean, you're getting MVP for tonight.
Thank you. He's on his way.
Cool.
Josh, did you say that Julie's trying to get back in or?
Lee
Email
hasn't
her.
received it yet.
Oh, here Lee is. So this will give us quorum again.
Okay, good.
Nate, do you
Might
still
wanna-
want me to oversee the meeting?
Yeah, definitely, MJ. Like I said, I'm on the road. I don't have anything in front of me. So.
All right then. Alrighty, so now having the arrival of Mr. Bean, we will have now full quorum. So now we can move back on to part B of the agenda, approval of meeting minutes from December 4th. And if I'll extend it again, if anybody has any questions or items for discussion on the meeting minutes or see anything that needs to be fixed, speak up now before we take a vote.
Sorry I was late, everyone. I didn't have.
Yeah,
That's
thanks for
all right,
joining.
Lee. These things happen.
All right, I'll make a motion to, if I'm not the chair tonight, can I make motions?
Yeah, you can make a motion.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Right. Because MJ's the acting chair tonight. I'll make a motion to accept.
I
I'll
hear a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Second. Yep,
All
second.
right, seconded by Mr. Bean. Josh, if you could take the roll call, please.
MJ,
Aye.
Nate,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Catherine,
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Alrighty, moving on to part C. I apologize for any noise you may have heard in the background. One of my cats decided to be mischievous. All right, any public comments or input from the public at this time? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to old business, which right now I don't have anything to report for the subcommittee, and I currently don't have my other colleagues with me from the subcommittee, so I would ask the indulgence of the members in attendance if you could defer this to the next meeting.
Sounds good.
All right. Is everybody else okay with that?
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So I will make note that it was by unanimous consent. All right, so let us move on to item E, new business. So the first one we're going to take a look at is going to be order O-FY24-019, eminent domain order of taking for 2-lot parcel on Broad Street. And we're going to just take a quick look-see at this here. I'm going to actually, folks, if you have had a chance to read it, I'm going to just go with the explanation. And I know we have Mr. Dutton here, so I will let him take it away once I read that part. The explanation of the order is to take by friendly eminent domain a certain parcel of land in the town of Bridgewater for municipal purposes, namely to create downtown parkland and open space for the benefit of all Bridgewater residents. It will be incorporated into the Styles and Parkland area. So with that being said, Mr. Dutton, if you are ready to do so, I would welcome your input as one of our guests.
Well, thank you very much, and thanks to the committee. And I apologize, I'm also on the road, but thanks to everybody for getting together in sort of a slow holiday week where most people are with family or friends or whatever. In any case, this was referred to you as well as the Budget and Finance Committee as a little bit of a knee jerk because you have actually already voted the appropriation, the appropriation for this, and this is the actual vote of taking that the council has to make. But as you recall, you have already voted an appropriation for this. That appropriation was $300,000 from community preservation funds. And the value, the appraised value of the property rather was $340,000. The owner has gifted us equity value of $40,000 and is selling it to us for $300,000. So as I say, that's largely referred to you in error, but it is here, and you can certainly vote it again. Or vote the taking piece if you so choose, or if you so choose, you don't need to take any action. That's completely up to the committee, but that is the explanation. The piece of property, for those that may not have been around for the appropriation, is just north of the Chinese restaurant on Broad Street, going out of town past Roach Brothers, McDonald's, several houses in there, and then there's the pink colored Chinese restaurant that doesn't seem to ever have anybody in the parking lot. These lots are just to the north of that. They front Broad Street, and that's they also abut the Styles Art Park and the 5-acre parcel that we just purchased about 2 years ago as well. So that is that. I'm happy to answer any questions, though.
All right, so it's Imperial Kitchen is the Chinese restaurant, right?
Correct.
And this business, yep, and this business has been before the committee, and we did approve it before. That's correct.
Correct.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I didn't mean to talk over you.
That's all right. That's all right. I do actually have an additional question for Mr. Dutton. Michael, so the parcel of land that we are taking, which we already did approve in a prior vote, just refresh my memory, is the land that's going to be taken going to be used to create parking for access to the Styles and Heartland, or is it going to be just incorporated into the wooded part of the Styles and Heartland?
That's a great question. It is possible that there will be a small parking lot on a portion of this property, as well as a small parking lot on a portion of the 5-acre lot that's just 100 feet or so up the road. from that. We may split the parking, but it is possible. Depends on the site conditions once we really get in and look at the topography and the wetland which abuts this property just to the east.
And the follow-up question I do have, Michael, since that would probably be the case, will there probably be two separate trailheads then, or would it just be one trailhead?
If we did two separate smaller parking lots, there would be essentially two trailheads. And obviously if we did one, there would be one trailhead. So that's right.
All right. Does anybody else have any questions for Mr. Dutton? Okay. Julie, are you trying to ask a question? It looks like you're trying to ask a question.
No, I'm just, me trying to figure out my computer, but thank you for asking.
That's fair. So as we have heard, folks, we've already taken an affirmative, yes action on this previously. So I would say at this point, not to give anybody a way to say yes or no on a matter, by operation of us having already approved it before, this is another portion of it. So it would seem to be that to do one and not do the other would probably be irresponsible of us as a committee. Therefore, it would probably be prudent action for us to approve this, because to say yes on one, you do sort of have to say yes to this part of it so that it can all go through and can be taken care of. Does anybody else have any questions or have any further comments for discussion on this?
Nope.
All right, hearing none, I would open the floor for a motion.
Motion to accept.
Motion to accept made by
Order.
Ms. Clapars. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All righty, seconded by Mr. Pace. Josh, if you would be so kind.
MJ,
Aye.
Nate,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Catherine,
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
All righty. Moving on to the next item on the agenda here. Order O-FY24-020, acceptance of gift, the Lopiki Trust. Hopefully I said that correct. The explanation is that the Bridgewater Library and the town of Bridgewater are going to be the beneficiaries of two Lopiki family trusts. These distributions are pursuant to the instructions contained on the respective trust given to the town. So it sounds like we're going to be getting a gift of funds here, which according to this is going to be a total of $3,382.18. Look for a little more clarification on this, Mr. Dutton.
Yes, this very nice gift. It is actually the income interest in two separate trusts, which add up on an annual basis to about $3,000+ and the library gets the bulk of that funding to support their programming needs. And then the residual, there's a smaller residual amount that the town gets to offset any town expense due to the 4th of July fireworks. So a nice, a very thoughtful gift, certainly, and we would expect to receive these funds on an annual basis as long as the 4th of July fireworks go on and as long as the library has programming. So that's the good news.
So my question to you, Michael, does this gift of funds from this family operate similarly how the Little family gifted funds to the town way back?
Oh, that's a good question. So I guess in terms of a charitable trust, then yes, I mean it operates in much the same way. I think the Little Trust was a little more substantive, but this one certainly is much appreciated as well. So in terms of their charitable intent, operate very similarly, but created slightly differently, and different spinning off different amounts on a yearly basis.
And as long as and just as a follow-up, so as long as the library continues to maintain its programs, which we know they will, because the library is very good at what they do, and they always have some very good programs for the public and for the kids and for parents here in town. It's really appreciated the work that they do. And then the fireworks display, which I know the 4th of July committee, which is independent of the town, they usually oversee that. But as it sounds like we're going to be getting funds that the town can then gift to that committee in order to make sure those fireworks displays continue. In the hopes that not only do we have an educational purpose of the library, but we also still have an entertainment purpose for the overall public for one of our biggest seasonal events.
That's absolutely correct.
I have a question, if I may,
Sure,
For
Mr.
the
Pace.
for the committee. Anybody on the committee know the Lepikis personally? Are they a prominent family in town, or?
I do not know them.
Very
I've lived there
generous
40
of them.
years. I've unfortunately not had an opportunity to hear the name.
No, I have to confess that I don't know them either.
I thought maybe she was a former, they were a former librarian or something, but, okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions or any other input to Mr. Dutton or amongst the committee?
No, I'll make a
Alright.
motion to approve this gift.
Mr. Schofield motions to approve. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Bean. Josh, if you'd be so kind as to take the roll call.
Nate. MJ,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye,
Catherine,
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
All right, sorry, guys, you drop out every once in a while. I vote aye too.
It is unanimous. All right, moving on to our third and final, last but not least of all our items tonight, we have Order OFY24-021 contractual buyouts, which are pretty much, basically what it says on the tin. These are contractual buyouts, so we are using funds from the employee ledge to cover contractual amounts due for the police department and for the fire department, and they're apparently for buyouts for retirements in FY24. Mr. Dutton, can you elaborate on that any further and let us know how many employees this actually does affect? Because 171,000, I surmise, is a few employees.
No, but let me, yeah, it's a few employees, but let me, just by way of explanation for those on the committee that don't know what these are, these come up on an annual or twice annual basis. It used to be that the collective bargaining agreements with the 6 different unions, I think 4 or 5 of them had language that that granted the employee upon retirement a portion in money of all of the sick time that they did not use over the course of their careers. And in the decades prior to now, there were contracts that were quite generous in that regard, and sick time was paid back, could be up to 100%. I think we have one union that's got sick time buyback that remains, and the language says that it's capped at $5,000, and is only paid back at 50% of the going rate upon retirement. So essentially, an employee retires, they've accrued all the sick time that they haven't used, and we now need to pay that out. We are right in these years, last year, this year, year after, and year after that, probably we're right at the major, at the largest chunk of retiring folks, mostly from the public safety unions, police and fire. So you'll see sizable amounts going out to fulfill those obligations that the town had made decades ago in their collective bargaining agreements. This particular order funds the second of two payments to two police officers who retired, and the full amount to a third police officer who is just retired, as well as I believe two firefighters who have retired, and that so I believe there are 5 total employees involved in this. But that's essentially it. The chair had it right. It's an obligation. It's a contractual obligation that the town has. But again, for the newer members, these contractual buyouts don't exist in the current collective bargaining agreement, but they did exist in the older agreements, and so that we're obligated to pay out as the contracts had been written way back when. So, but happy to answer questions about that.
I have one question, Mr. Dutton. So just for the edification of our colleagues, because the contracts have obviously changed over the last 2 decades, we're likely going to get to the point in the near future where we don't have any of these coming before either us or the town council anymore. Is that correct?
Eventually, yep. Eventually, we will not see these orders, and to the extent we ever do, they'll be minuscule orders. You know, and as I say, in the range of $5,000, not 170 or 240 or whatever we've seen in the last couple of years.
And just as a follow-up, given that time frame, does the town right now currently have a general idea of when we may start seeing those types of contract buyouts start to reduce to that potential low range?
I think after the next 2 to 3 fiscal years, it's a little difficult because we do keep track, and we have a very good idea as of today. You know, if we had an employee retired today, we know exactly what their buyout would have to be. But there are employees that use sick time, obviously, when they're sick, and they may chew up a good chunk of that outstanding sick time before they actually do retire. So it's a bit of a nebulous figure, but as I say, as of today, we know precisely what we would owe, and we can project out retirements. The only retirements that are mandatory are police and fire. Police officers and firefighters have to retire at age 65, and some of them may be retiring at age 55. Some may be retiring right at the maximum 65. So that adds another variable in. So it's sometimes difficult to do projections, but our best guess is that we'll see the height of these payouts over the next 2 to 3 fiscal years.
So I have a follow-up question to that. Have we noticed any kind of increase, or do you expect to see an increase in people using that time because they will no longer get paid out for it? Is there a maximum number of days they can take out in a row or anything like that? You know what I mean? Without some kind of true medical note or something like that?
Right. Yeah. In most of the contracts, they're all a little different, but in most of the contracts, if you're out more than 3 days, management has the right to request, a doctor's note or something along those lines. That said, COVID created a whole lot of sort of quirks around sick time that we're still working through, but generally, Julie, to answer your first question, we don't. Our philosophy has always been that sick time is there to be taken when you're sick, and obviously, we don't want you in the buildings, or we don't want you on the job if you're sick. You need to stay home, and you need to get better. Sick time is also can be used for caregivers that have to take care of sick children, sick parents, whatever. And we want you to do that. So we don't want you on the job site when there's illness going on in the house. You need to be there to take care of it. That said, the question then is, do we see an abuse of sick time? And we generally don't, which is good news. And again, the management of sick time is largely a management issue. You want to make sure you're managing employees well. You want to make sure you know what's going on in terms of health and the welfare of your employees. So we fortunately have not seen any kind of abuse when it comes to sick time. And there are always sort of one-off issues where we have to have a discussion with an employee about sick time or time off generally. But those
Yeah,
tend to
I
be
asked
rare.
because in my own personal business, like we used to get to carry it over and then we were bought out and then we don't, so they paid us out. And now miraculously, people that never were sick don't have any time at the end of the year when previously they got paid out like multiple days. That's why I was curious.
Yeah. Well, there's,
Okay.
it was a really generous, the way the old collective bargaining agreements was incredibly generous for those that, those that were never sick. And obviously for anybody that was legitimately sick, it wasn't a particularly useful perk, or a useful incentive. But I thought, when we negotiated out a lot of the sick language, I was very sensitive to the fact that we were going to start to see a lot of sick, people just chewing up all their sick time because it was of no value otherwise. And fortunately, we haven't seen that. So knock on wood.
Well, because if someone's out, because like you said, in the public safety sector, we have to pay one way or the other because then you have to pay for replacement, just like a substitute teacher in the school district. You know what I mean? If you
Exactly.
going to pay one way or the other.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and you pay a lot.
Exactly. All right. Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
Does anybody else
MJ.
have any comments or questions?
MJ, if I may, hey, Michael, do we have any DPW workers that will fall under this?
Oh boy, that's a good question. I believe that all of the DPW, save maybe one, I think they don't fall under. I think that they don't have sick time buyback. I believe, and if they do, their contracts were not nearly as generous as public safety. So we were, we see something in the $7,500 range, as a cap, something to that effect.
Okay, thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments or queries for Mr. Dutton? All right, hearing none, I would entertain a motion for this order.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve made by Ms. Clapars. Do I hear a second?
Second,
Seconded by Mr. Schofield. Josh, if you could take the roll call, please.
MJ,
Aye.
Nate,
aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Catherine,
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Alrighty, so we've now gone through all of our new business. Now we have letter F on the agenda, additional items for discussion. So if anybody does have anything for discussion that we didn't otherwise reasonably be able to plan for, please speak.
I've got none.
Alrighty. And if no one else has any, I will mention that the subcommittee will have a meeting scheduled on Tuesday, January 9th. I believe we're doing it at 7 p.m. Is that correct, Josh?
Yep.
Alrighty. The only thing I want to say that I would like to see be placed on the agenda for it is just our overall discussion, and if anybody else from the committee wishes to either, be a part of the gallery, as it were, of public, I would encourage it, because we will be talking about how we are going to try to proceed further on the item that we were tasked with earlier in the summer, and hopefully we will have some fruitful discussion. And on that, Josh, have we heard anything back from the school district if they will be attending or not?
I have not. And if MJ, if you want to just email me again, with what you'd like on the agenda, I can put the agenda together and then send it to them and just invite them like formally that way.
Excellent. I will try to do so once I get the technological issues I'm having on my end resolved tonight.
Okay.
I will definitely send it to you. So with that all being said, if there isn't anything else to consider, discuss, or raise concern on, I would be willing to entertain an adjournment under section G of the agenda.
Before we do that, can we just talk about when our next meeting might be? The regular
Yes,
committee?
Jumping the gun here, I apologize.
Sorry.
No,
No,
Josh,
the-
when would the next council meeting be?
So the next council meeting is on the 2nd, and this is actually probably a good opportunity. I did get feedback as far as switching up the time on Monday. It sounds like Monday is the best night to do finance committee. And 6:30 was the more preferred time, it looked like. So if we want to run a test of that on the 8th, we should have whatever is referred from town council available by then.
I know I certainly would be okay with that myself, but I will I'll let the chair speak to that one just because he is the one that lets us set the agenda.
You know, I agree. I like 6:30 better than 7:30.
All right, so we'll plan for
Okay.
6:30 on January 8th.
On the 8th. Yep.
Alrighty
And
then.
we're still meeting via Zoom, correct? Because you know how I love these.
For the foreseeable term, I believe we are, Julie.
Yep, we're
Alright.
still working on the protocol for the hybrid meetings.
Okay. All right, with that, we'll have a motion to adjourn, yes?
Yes, I would like to ask the committee if there is a motion.
Motion.
Motion made by
Second.
Mr. Horace, second
I'll
made by Mr. Pace.
I'll second. I don't know if I heard somebody. Second to adjourn.
All right, I hear a second. Josh, take the roll call vote, please.
MJ,
Aye.
Nate,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Catherine,
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion was approved. The meeting is adjourned.
All right. Thank you,
Yeah,
everyone.
on the 8th.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year,
Thank you.
everybody.
Happy New Year.
Happy
See
New
you
Year.
next year.